By this time, cry USA. Why? Oh, hello. My name is Boss. The only boss. Wait, one is people. When you see me like that, it's all about good news. Why? Because Tap Send is making life so easy and convenient for. By this time, cry USA. Why? Oh, hello. My name is Boss. The only boss. Wait, one is people. When you see me like that, it's all about good news. Why? Because Tap Send is making life so easy and convenient for everybody. So, are you ready for the good news? Hello, come and tell us. Okay, thank you. So, Tap Send brings to you the double referral bonus, which runs from now to the end of October. Now, all you need to do is to tell your friends, your family, your loved ones who live in the USA to use your referral code when sending money with Tap Send. And they get an instant $10 free. Wait, and you that are using your referral code, you are going to get double your referral bonus. Initially, if you're in Europe, you're supposed to get €5 for your referral bonus, but now it's a double promotion, so you're going to get €10 instantly. In Canada, it's also double, so that means 10 Canadian dollars. And if you're in the UK, as usual, you're supposed to get £5 for your referral bonus, but now it's double. So you're going to get £10 just for you. Let the people in the USA know what's going on with Tap Send. Let them use your referral code and they are going to get money, and you're also going to get money. Oh, but get to know that this promotion is only targeted for USA. So meaning, if you refer someone who lives outside USA, you won't receive any bonus. But also, if you are living in the USA, you can also participate in this promo by referring people within USA to use your referral code, which you can find on the app right here. With Tap Send double referral bonus promo. It's a win-win affair. Download Tap Send now on Google Play and App Store. Tap Send. It's secure, convenient, easy, and fast.
Hello, I'm Rofeka, living in Europe, Italy to be precise. And whenever I'm sending money to Africa, Ghana, I use Tap Send. Tap Send is an app that can be used to send money, any amount of money, to your loved ones. You can simply download this app on Google Play Store. And believe me, you will thank me later because it's very convenient, it's very safe, and so fast. Tap Send, you've indeed changed our lifestyle.
Reminding you that this is the sound of Africa. OT Radio is live and alive. This is the time we open the house of this. This is the newest version, of course, the greatest time of our moments now. OT Radio has come to stay. Tune in on www.otradiouk.com, and of course we have live activities more coming on politics, sports, social entertainment, and everything that you request. My name is Psychosis, and so I'm going to be part and parcel of it. And of course, OT Radio has come to say this is the sound of Africa.
Yo, abusiafo memamo ajo emamo akwaba ebiemu enenso edewo eba time Tap Send live on OT Media TV. Midi ene nana kwame oseitu enyumrei mina mi video animuna yenimu nyina atwetwe enkomo nei topic bia ehun hia mi yie pa na yade enso ayentai nka ho asem na nei nyame waye adom yenya opening pa about this area there just say oh hunim die pa say nei one year eba between a home and como any a day and a year can was a Mr. Yabutre na train. Na memfa asida emfa emma a year tap sene jumakuno is answer one more any timmy is so mimu emma mitimi jumadi ebro every Thursday bia and inti asida kese and comma tap send any or more juma phone na say I bring no omukita imume etimi edi jumadi edi ebro enti se wo koi so tie wo hwe baby bia na se wo undownload the tap send me canfo edi amount ene enwumre bo modiana download now so timi fa send sika ekọ oman Ghana mu kọ bo abusuafo say bi awon so wo hwe yen ewo Ghana ena wabusuafo enso ewo amononia na mesrewa se bo modiana ka kire omo na omo nso intimi download the tap send app no na omo nso timi ede aboa abusuafo ewo oman Ghana mu yo send the medu tap send aso ye dia na ndie mamemfa ora Malto Growth Director for Africa emfa embrel na eno na chi no me special guest for tonight me de no abrel ora Malto me mawajo emo akaba ede obadwumadi so anwumre
na ka be good evening bibia boko
yamena do me ho ye pa na nso ai
nyamena helipa etiefo nyina mechiam nyina a big good evening to all of you within the Kokumalto Abraham me a growth director for Africa for tap send. So I was born at 37 Military Hospital. I lived at Medina Firestone all my life. I went to Presec Legon. I went to Legon, and then for the last 18 years I have lived in London. But I'm a boy from Piki, and Ghana is very close to my heart, and Ghana is my very important market, and I love coming on this show to connect with our Ghana customers, to hear what's happening with you. The Akuffo, Mukrum, and Mufie, all of you are lovely customers who have been supporting us for many years, who are in the US, you are in Canada, you are in Italy, you are in Germany, you are in Belgium, you are in France, you are in the UK, and we love connecting with you. So, I'm looking forward to hearing what Doc has to tell us about mental health and our well-being and how we look after ourselves. Me, from a very personal perspective, the UK is a very lonely country the older you get. So I think these topics are important for us to learn a bit more as we continue to live here. What has been happening at Tap Send this week? So there are maybe one or two things that I want to bring to your attention. The very first one on my list, which is very important. So if you're listening to me and you are either on this Zoom or you are on Facebook or you are on YouTube and you can hear the sound of my voice, there is something called SIM card registration. Ghana. SIM card registration, it has become something that the government needs and the nation needs to make sure that they know that everybody who has a SIM card and a telephone number, they know who they are, they know where they live, and they have their details. This deadline has been moved a number of times, but they say no, almost a deadline, that's it. By tomorrow, if your loved ones in Ghana, or even if you're in Ghana right now, and you have not registered your SIM card will start to lose some services. Yes, you say, because of mobile money, a lot of the money that goes to Tap Send goes to mobile money in Ghana. So it is important that you tell all your recipients, all your loved ones, all your family members, say they should get their SIM card registered. If they haven't done it by today, there is still time. They can find an MTN shop, find an MTN office, find a Vodafone office, find an Airtel office, go and get your SIM card registered. Some people can do it on the app. There is this app that you can download. It's only available on Android, which can allow you to do it by yourself. But they need a Ghana card and they have to get their SIM card registered. If they don't have a Ghana card, the advice that we've had from MTN directly is that get somebody in your family who has a Ghana card to register the SIM card for you. And then you can later switch the ownership of that SIM card to yourself or to the person who owns a SIM card. Inti, this is my number one big announcement to all of you. Inti, if you're on this call and your family have not, you haven't asked them the question, it's a good time to text them now, send them a WhatsApp. Quickly ask them, say, is your SIM card registered? Are you sure you can receive money after tomorrow? It's very, very, very important. So please, let's take it seriously. But that's my number one thing. Number two is about rates. We would keep working hard to give you the best rates. The pound has struggled in the last 3 weeks, which means that pound no UK converting that pound to dollars and then translating it to cedis for you in Ghana has been quite difficult. So the rates haven't always been the best, but we will keep pushing to give you the best rates as we can. We have just decided that payday back into let's give the very best rates we can in the UK today. So you'll see that we've done some good rates, but every time we lead the way, somebody else follows, as we can see. So keep supporting TapTap Send. We will keep doing our best to give you the best rates because we care about Ghana power and we want you to send as much money as you can into the Ghanaian economy. Please send your money. Payday back. It's payday tomorrow. Into your and I say watching now. Don't forget, say TapTap Send. We've been here for you and we'll continue being here for you, giving you the best rates. The third thing on my list is about the US. So we launched in the US maybe at the start of this year and towards the back end of last year. And you hear just like how you've helped us make TapTap Send the main way that all the Ghanaians in the UK and Europe send money. I'm sure that the lovely customers we have, the Ghanaians we have in Europe and the UK can help us build the US and even the US. We are doubling the bonus we give you to say thank you for referring someone. This month, for the month of September, for the month of September, for the month of October, we are saying if you refer somebody who lives in the US and they come to TapTap Send because of your referral, we will double the bonus that we would give you. Look out for it. There'll be an email about it. There'll be some posters about it. But this is the time for you to start going through your phone book and looking for your cousins and brothers and aunties and long distance friends, old school friends, even your old school groups. So who was on Pressure Group? I have another day group that I don't post on very often, but this is a time to post your referral code on your old school groups and trying to help us build the Ghana community that we have for TapTap Send in America. Mr. Emmanuel, please help me, help us, help the team for us to build an even bigger, stronger Ghanaian TapTap community in the US. And we would say a big, big thank you by doubling the bonus that we give you. I would be quiet for now, but I'll be on the show throughout the evening. I'll put the kids to bed and I'll come back on the show and I'll be here. And I want to hear what Doc has to say. I also will be here at the end. If you have any questions about TapTap, let's connect. Let's get your ideas. Part of it is not just even asking questions. Just tell me how things are going. I mean, I lead the Africa product and the Ghana product. Tell me directly. Say, if you have any complaints, yes, I'd love to hear it and I'd love to work to resolve it. But even importantly, there are suggestions, there are ideas that you think we should be working on. There are people you think we should be working with. Please, I want to hear them. I'll be here throughout the show. I'll be in the chat and I'll be here physically live towards the end of the show to answer any questions you might have. And I come in for now there. I will keep quiet.
Yo, Ramauto, Medas and then you Ray. Every Thursday beyond no joining Emma Jumadi, Ekoso Kama. Me se Ben. Eddie kan ebusa say adena TapTap mubusa passport and I say ID at some point in time. Edu TapTap Send focus section na ura mauto ebi sa questions in no. Any BM so was specific issue be with your TapTap Send app at some point in time during the program no maybe a breakout room 1. Honum and Albaka to your customer support team or more ebeboa na or issue be with your TapTap Send app what me are resolving. Now NJ asemwa ewo and then they say yen guest speaker for tonight or your tapper. He is a customer of TapTap Send. Now just say or say or she I mean or say me be me history chrewa. TapTap Send muchim bibi. Doc and I have bibi. Yeah, that's a pass and then what join here. Ebusia for and then yen speaker for tonight. Obia me ankasa me introducing na ebia me wie na ya pon program no. Intimatonsa afre yen team member bako Teresa na o introduce yen speaker for tonight na fe ya toa enkomotwetwe so. Teresa sa wo honoma mbacho yetio.
Yo nana kwame medasi bebre abusuafo mesan afasa akwanya yi so ama mu nyina akwa aba kese eba time with tap send said ye minua be ma na kwa mekae no se ka se ye ka profile ekra doctor na am say ene say ye nwie inti kaka meka me body nyina atofa na ma summarize it so wo hwe ne background kwa book egu na chawu se owo ni de wadom su kwa nkasa inti abusanfo me fasa akwanya yi so na ma introduce Dr. Amaye nyina and the ono na obedi dwumadi e wa bedi anwumre yi. I feel so privileged and honored to be given this opportunity to introduce such a special guest in our midst this evening. He is a man full of wisdom and integrity. Currently, he is a consultant psychiatrist in charge of the Croydon South locality team in London, following a redesign of mental health services in South London and Mosley NHS Foundation Trust. After completing his primary medical education at the University of Ghana Medical School as a pioneer student and working in Ghana for 3 years, he won the Commonwealth Fellowship and proceeded to the University of Otago in New Zealand for the postgraduate studies in community, child health, and public health. Since moving to the UK in 1975, he has worked as a clinical medical officer for schools and child health clinics in London. He entered the field of psychiatry in 1977. In 1983, he was appointed a senior lecturer and consultant psychiatrist at St. Bartholomew's Hospital Medical School and Waltham Forest Community. He was awarded an MBA by Her Majesty the Queen Elizabeth, may her soul rest in perfect peace, for his loyal services to medicine in 2009. This man is no other person than our very own daddy, brother, granddad, Dr. Emmanuel Akuffo. Dr. Yamau Akwababiu.
You, I was for doctor, and yet just a medical field. He has been my church leader, senior presbyter for so many years. Nasenka presby any krum hanoma, Mijidis on Nakwadi presby beba. Dr. Nyami Insha and enumerate say waji penny say onye ebe kasa. Mental health a topic beer. Especially within our community, within our environment, ye entire kahwasem. Ena eya na stigma ewa hunti no se ye kasa ebi a obi wo mental health wabodam. There be ene papa yi ewo nimdie ewo sa topic yi ho a ene woni eba betwetwe enkomo na megiri se eho behia se me no nyina ye be din ne atie na yesua bibi ne abusa nsem na wamaye enchiremu na yetimi ede ananti ewo yen amonone hanoma yaba betena baby biara yewo bia ba answer na Dr. Bekasan mame fan krato ba kuntwam na afi me Dr. Bro producer.
The 6th edition of the Ghana Property and Lifestyle Expo 2022 returns to London, UK. Join us at the Ghana Property and Lifestyle Expo and meet Ghana's top leading reputable real estate developers. Looking to buy property in Ghana? Need advice on finance, legal and estate planning? Hear from our panel of industry experts. Special guest keynote speakers, plus live panel Q&A all under one roof. On Saturday the 12th and Sunday the 13th of November from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. daily. This 2-day event is taking place at the Pastana Chelsea Bridge Hotel, 354 Queenstown Road, London, SW11 8AE. Look out for fantastic offers and discounts. Dream it, live it. You don't want to miss out. Lead sponsor Gold Key Properties. Silver sponsor Bow Real Estate. Bronze sponsor Deftreco Plus.
Thank you very much. And once again, welcome to the program. Time with Tap Send with your servant, Nana Kwame Oseitu. We are privileged this evening to have our guest speaker to talk to us about your mental health. Dr. Emmanuel Akuffo, MB, Doctor, you're welcome, and thank you for joining us this evening.
It's such a pleasure, to be part of this program. And as you said, it's true. Before I discovered Tap, I didn't know that there was such an easy way. And I had to go through the stress of going to queue up at a post office or somewhere. But thanks to organizations like Tap, is now seconds, and my needs will be met. Now, ladies and gentlemen, and dear listeners and customers of Tap and other organizations, what I'd like to say is this. And I think somebody said, because of stigma and other things, we don't often talk about mental illness. And in fact, in Ghanaian society, and not only in Ghanaian society, about 1993, I was given a fellowship, a King's Fund Fellowship, which is based in London. Robert Maxwell, who of blessed memory was the chairman, and quite often they don't give such fellowships to psychiatrists, usually surgeons and physicians and so on and so forth. But I was given one to go and carry out research into attitudes towards mental health in West Africa. And this is one of the key things that actually motivated me to do programs like this. Now, unlike physical health, where let's say you break your arm, there's an x-ray, we can see the bone is broken, and then the orthopedic surgeons or the surgeons will fix this. Mental health is not like that. Because in mental health, somebody may be walking around looking completely normal and ordinary, and you wouldn't even think there's anything wrong. And the reason being is that it's not something we talk about easily. People are aware of the prejudices, relating to mental health, and therefore people are always very cautious about even speaking about their mental health. Even to their GP, sometimes it's not easy. So when we say mental illness, we're talking about, it's a general term. We for a group of illnesses that may impact on a person's thoughts, the way we think, perceptions, the way we perceive things, our feelings, and behaviors. But it can also affect working and personal relationships. Generally, if you go for help, then there is a possibility that counseling or medication or both can help you manage your mental illness. So that is the difference between physical health condition and a mental health condition, or what we call mental disorder. So why is this so important? If you look at what's happening around the world these days, COVID, we've only just come out of COVID, and look at the terrible consequences that we all had to go through. Traveling became a nightmare. Large numbers of people dying. Even when your relative was admitted to hospital, you couldn't even go and hold the person and say, how are you? You weren't even allowed. And the vaccinations, and if even you develop a cold, you know, what happened? You'll be scared that maybe you were going to die or something like that. And all these triggered something in ourselves. And it led to a lot of anxiety and depression, and in fact, triggered a lot of other mental health issues. Same as when there is a natural disaster, like a tsunami in an area, and so many people are killed, or there is flooding, or at the moment, the war in Ukraine and the financial crunch that we're all going through. All these things impact on our mental health. So what are the commonest ones that we deal with in practice? When we say anxiety disorders, it's not only the panic or, you know, the sweating or the increased heart rate or things like that we're talking about. Under anxiety disorders come so many other conditions. Because the reason why I'm talking about this first is that it is the one closest to stress. So stress, which we know is pressure. And it's only when too much pressure is put on you that it becomes the kind of pressure which is uncomfortable and can lead to severe anxiety or panic, or you won't be able to perform. And then all sorts of conditions like depression, and the way we respond to situations, emotional stability or instability can be brought out because of the way maybe we are responding. So anxiety is when often nothing has happened necessarily, but it has been the result of a life event which has triggered something else in your body, like hormones or things like that. And with anxiety, unlike depression, something has happened and you are reacting as a result, for example. But in anxiety, it's anticipation of the worst that is to come, what is likely to happen, and so on and so forth. So that is the first thing. And as I say, in the first 15 minutes, what I intend to do is just hop over the subjects quickly, and then we'll allow plenty of time for interaction, question and answers, and so on. In children, for example, we have the behavior and emotional disorders in children, which so many you may have heard about. And on top of that, conditions like ADHD, what they call ADHD. And that is the, it's something that we have to read about. And I want us to go through them quickly so that if you come, because the ADHD is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. And you find a lot of children who are growing up in the toddler stages, very disruptive, they can't concentrate, speech is delayed. And when you give them a toy, instead of playing with it ordinarily, you find they tear it to pieces, trash the place, and so on and so forth. And we don't write anybody off. When a child is like that, it's gentle approach. If you can't do enough for the child, please see the doctor, because this is the whole thing. If you can deal with the child, by all means, do so. But if you think you can't, and you don't want the child going to school with that behavior, because as soon as that child shows that behavior in school, what's going to happen is the child is going to be excluded from class or other things, or they will ask you to, go to specialists and get something like that. But then let me come quickly to common things like depression. Now, depression is such a common condition, and there are degrees of depression. When we say somebody is depressed, in actual fact, it's like sadness. It's sadness. Unfortunately, most Africans, including Ghana or West Africans, don't have the exact equivalent of the word depression in our language. We don't have it, whereas in the English, for instance, it's one word, depression, and then everybody understands. We know what we are talking about. But this is when you feel really sad, you can't eat properly, you find the person crying, you can't sleep, everything is a try. You don't even feel like getting out of bed to have a bath or a wash or something like that. And you find somebody who was so active, hiding in the corner, crying all the time, staying off work, but not saying why. And then obviously, if it gets too much, will be advised, because people around you will notice it. Please, all is not right. Go and see a doctor. Now, within that, that's what we call the affect. Affect is the mood, the feel that we have. And then we have the bipolar affective disorder. When we say bipolar affective disorder, it is exactly what it is. Sometimes you are very depressed, other times you are very high. High, when we say high, very elated, too happy, can't sleep, but doesn't miss the sleep, restless, blowing kisses at strangers, and behaving in a way that is totally unexpected of the person. And in fact, in its worst forms, it's one of the commonest causes of admitting people to hospital, because if you don't, when they become disinhibited, they can do the most terrible things. They can even put the house on sale when the wife doesn't know about it, or they can go to Harrods and order thousands and thousands of furniture when the family is struggling financially. And therefore, we have to act very quickly. With depression, what we worry about is when people start having dark thoughts. Dark thoughts is when you feel the whole world has come to an end, you wish you could disappear, therefore you get all sorts of suicidal thoughts and so on. So what we do for all these things is, if we can't handle it easily, see a doctor, see your GP, see somebody, talk to somebody. Yeah. And then we have the other conditions like eating disorders, like anorexia nervosa or bulimia, where the person is not eating and loses a lot of weight, or thinks he or she is too fat, and then food comes, the person may eat the food, rush into the bathroom or somewhere, put fingers under the throat, and bring everything up. So these are eating disorders. We have the obsessive compulsive disorder as well, where there are people, and a lot of cases that I've been seeing recently, they will tell you that, since the COVID, it got worse. People who already feel they are contaminated, and therefore they keep washing their hands. If they touch anything, they have to rush and wash their hands. COVID came. So obviously what that did was it reinforced some of the rituals which we see in obsessive compulsive disorder, because it's two types. There is one which is in your mind and one which is actually the rituals of opening and checking doors before going out. You check all the doors in the house several times, before they step out. Then please let me talk briefly about what we see and what we describe as the psychosis. This is where in Ghana or other places, we will say the person is mad. And the person is mad because of certain key things which are not the same as anxiety or eating disorders or other things I've talked about. What you realize is that the person starts changing in their behavior and the way they interact. Their social networks, they fall out of it. And then you see they may stay in their room for hours. They don't want to come out. They don't want to mix with people. And then they will be saying strange things. When I say strange things, the number one is when they start feeling, for example, that somebody is after them, like a persecution, or the television which he or she is watching is not an ordinary device, but is being placed there by MI5 or the security services to spy on him. And then they may also believe that sometimes it's led to some disasters because the person may get up one day and see the wife and think that the wife is a stranger, total stranger. And then they may have things like what we call difficulties with perception in all areas. And the first thing, or the commonest one, is hearing voices. Because when they hear strange voices, which may be from outside their heads or inside their heads, telling them, sometimes giving them commands to do bad things, or persistently running a commentary, on their life and so on and so forth, which they can't cope with. And this is very, very, very distressing, and it can lead to sometimes situations where they can be a danger to themselves or others in the vicinity, or even the members of their family, and they can be somebody who is very gentle may become aggressive and so on and so forth. And it calls for immediate intervention, seeing the doctor, and maybe admission to hospital may be necessary. So I've talked about all these things. So post-traumatic stress and schizophrenia, I just want to say two things. With the psychosis that I've just talked about, one of the commonest that you will come across is schizophrenia, what we call schizophrenia. In schizophrenia, the delusions and hallucinations or hearing of voices or seeing strange things which are not there, or smelling things which are not there, or believing that MI5 or the security services or BNI are following you. And even if you see something which we are all looking at, you think, oh, this is something that somebody has put there specifically to target you, and so on and so forth. And it's important that we take action very quickly, because when people are paranoid or people are hearing voices commanding them to do things, they can sometimes do some dangerous and unexpected or unusual things. Then briefly, let me touch on post-traumatic stress disorder. Then I'll keep quiet so that we'll have time to now. We all hear about wars, refugees, fleeing war zones, and so on and so forth. And we give them somewhere to live, accommodation, and so on. And we think that is all. Or we hear about a disaster like a tsunami happening, an earthquake happening, and we rescue people and we think that is all. No, that is not all. These are serious major life events which, depending on the way the person's constitution is, can end up with quite enduring serious mental illnesses called post-traumatic stress disorder. Because what happens is It could be years after, it could be weeks after, it could be months after the disaster. They will start having flashbacks, as if the event is recurring, happening repetitively all the time. And sometimes when they go to bed and you are sleeping next to them, there will be nightmares, they will be screaming, shouting, running across the room as if something has, and they may not be aware, having weird dreams, and their sleep is very disturbed. And then within that, you can get severe depression and anxiety. And anything that reminds them of the situation, you find becomes or triggers something quite serious in their lives. And they may become suicidal several times. They may even turn to cutting themselves and so on and so forth. Lastly, personality disorders. When we say personal, we all have our personalities. But it's when during a person's development, because our personalities are set when we are quite young, and their influences are the upbringing we have, the environment, the people we mix with, any traumas in our childhood that we go through. All these can affect the development of our personalities. And with personality disorders, you find when we talk about this, is the way they respond to stressful situations, the way the emotions are regulated in order to handle some challenges in where the certain challenges come in our lives, and then they don't have the capacity to handle, and they do all sorts of things, taking overdoses, slashing their wrists, crying for help, but they may then end up drugs, alcohol, so many things that ordinarily we wouldn't do. Now, let me stop here because otherwise I'll never finish. So this is a broad introduction into the field of mental health and mental illnesses, and we can talk about it. I have left out dementia, but it will come up in questions. So this is where I rest my case for the time being.
A very big thank you again, Doctor, for such a brief and wonderful presentation on such a broad topic. You managed to compress it for us to understand in brief what mental health illness is about. I will open the floor. If you have any question, so you can raise up your hand on the Zoom, and I will call you for you to ask your question that you have for Doctor this evening. Either your personal experience that you want to share or anything, you are welcome to ask your question. So right. I will pick Crystal D. Crystal D.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Good evening to you.
Good evening to you too.
Yes, I dropped something in the chat, and I just want to say thank you very much for organizing this. It's really helpful, particularly when I opened my email and I saw the topic on mental health. I'm not quite sure if it's a question or if it's just something I would like to add, but I really like to be able to sort of connect with either Dr. Akuffo or any of you, because mental health is a topic that is rather very dear to me. And I've just recently set up an enterprise, a mental health enterprise, to help individuals and the community. If people want to talk, go for coffee, or even accompany them to events or travel. So, because I know, especially in the Ghanaian community and in the Black community in particular, we really don't like to talk. So, yes, we are not very good at that at all. So, if anyone needs any help at all, I mean, we are here to help and support. So my main thing is I really like to connect with you to see how working with you we can help the community.
Okay, thank you. Can I say that if anybody feels comfortable asking the question in Twi, I understand Ga, but it's not very good, and I don't speak any of the Nigerian language. So if you feel comfortable, for example, as asking your question in Twi, you can do so, and I'll respond in Twi. But the general presentation I'll do in English. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Krista D said she would like to connect with you.
Yes, I got good. Yeah.
All right. Let's pick DEA. Please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Okay, Bro Prince, thank you very much, and God bless you too. Doctor, thank you very much for your words of encouragement and advice. A little contribution that I would like to add is I was very happy when Doctor touched base with the children's side with the ADHD and other conditions. My simple contribution or advice is our background, and when I say our background, the African community, and I would say Ghanaians because we're all Ghanaians, we're so much in denial when it comes to children's conditions, mental condition. Our culture and the customs and our rights compresses our ability to talk or to defend ourselves sometimes when it comes to children. We always say, oh no, Debbie, we're saying, Debbie. That's when, business, it starts from primary school now. And then when they get to secondary school, this is where I remember Dr. said it, this is where the exclusions comes in. Yeah. Because we denied it, we didn't accept it, we don't accept it, we don't agree with it. But then, no, he has also this is what we've seen, and we would like to refer you, or we would like to offer you this services. Please do not reject it. If we keep on rejecting services for our children, we are abusing our children ourselves, because when they become teenagers and the thing gets worse, we can control it. The society cannot control it, and it gets worse. So, your best me patcho me advice no obatan biara na so biara wo line is no wouldn't obi said the ba echo problem right from beginning, at least from the age of 3. Diagnosis start from 4 years old. Na see kasa abofra no condition be, we would like to offer you this. Please do not reject it. Yeah. Accept the offer, pray over it, and work towards it. Work with the professionals. By the time the child gets to year 4, year 5, who knows? By God's grace, he will feel better before he gets to the teenage age. Okay. Thank you very much.
Very much. Yeah, thank you.
Let's pick Her Excellency. Gertrude. Gertrude, below, but yeah, take a crack. Yeah, it's better.
Doctor, say a mental health as someone knows, say, obidanas or casawa and memoir, and no, sign and nasty be a mental health one. I could be near to me one puncture.
Sir, talking in sleep, no. It can be part of a nightmare. It can be part of bizarre or weird dreams. It can be part of something which the person was thinking about before he or she went to bed. And so now okodano na bribi etre ejinana dream so deneni And to bonso or danwa na or itimiba. Sometimes I say, we are enyani kakrano, no bo prim nebia, ubi or down chain because hey, this is weird. This is not you. There is something wrong. And you were one, what we call the nightmares, and it takes all forms of the presentation is very, very, very multifaceted. It can be talking in your sleep, laughing in your sleep, screaming, jumping, or punching the air in your sleep. It can be one of those. Sometimes it can be nothing really. It could be one-off experience of something that you had, and then you've taken it to bed, and you are sort of you are opening up while you are semi-asleep, when you are semi-asleep. But we also have night terrors. The night terrors, you find it happens in children, especially to their adolescence or early adolescence, and it stops. Not many people have it as a major condition when they are much older, but in children, and they can get up screaming, shouting, crying, and you try to find out what's wrong with them, and you may find it very difficult to get an answer, because it could be a 4-year-old child who doesn't know what is happening. If it goes on persistently, please talk to your doctor. The reason being, there are times when we want to study the brain a little more, like do an EEG or MRI, because for a child, you see, something may be happening that that child won't be able to tell us. So it's important to do it, but it is also a sign of post-traumatic stress disorder, one of the commonest. Because apart from flashbacks are like revisiting the trauma. And sometimes you may be walking and believing that you are back at the place where it happened. And you get this, especially the worst ones are the military traumas, because I worked in the military for 4 years as a consultant. So what has happened is, even the war that happened many years ago in Iraq or Afghanistan or Libya or so, you can get major flashbacks, and then at night you can also be talking in your sleep, shouting in your sleep, screaming in your sleep, sometimes punching the person next to you in your sleep, and it's very common. So that's what I'm saying. For each mental health condition, we try to explore all the possibilities. But talking in your sleep, it could be part of a post-traumatic stress disorder. It could be nothing serious. But if it continues all the time, then please see a doctor, because these days, you see, especially research workers, we always want to investigate until you find something, which can be very helpful and help, the person can get out of it. My answer Anna.
You say, doctor. You, Dr. Obinso, the contribution be about Ewahanum, especially in relation to mental health in children. He or she is saying that sometimes it could also be from what the child has been exposed to in the home. For example, domestic abuse between parents.
Yeah.
What would be your advice to all of us on this call when it comes to domestic abuse in relation to mental health illness in children?
Right. Now, it is very, very important, and especially in the UK. A lot of the children who go on to develop certain types of emotionally unstable personality disorders and so on and so forth. If you take the history, you will find that they themselves would have gone through some bad traumas at home. Parents fighting or coming home very drunk, using bad language, assaulting the children physically or emotionally. Because when we talk of trauma and when we talk of assault on a child, it can be physical, it can be emotional or psychological, it can be unintended sexual abuse or actual sexual abuse because you haven't got time for the children and you've left them with a neighbor or somebody who has taken advantage of the children. And most of their mental illnesses, you will find that are linked to their developments. And we have to be very careful. Bullying and harassment at school, sometimes children who suffer discrimination and so on and so on. When something like that happens, please, the attention of the authorities must be brought. You must bring this to the attention of the authorities, because if your child is suffering psychological, physical, sexual abuse or other abuse at home, it will show at school. It will show at school straight away. The teachers will notice it, and maybe the way the child turns up at school, not properly dressed, and if they are not well fed, you can tell. And then a child who was doing so well or who used to do so well, like getting A's, suddenly dropping to C's and D's, and and then we know that there is something wrong. Children can get depressed, and they can get severely depressed as well. And you find that they may start cutting themselves, and especially the young adults. I mean, the people who are, let's say, 12 to 18, you've got to be very careful, because if they get depressed or severely anxious and you don't see a doctor or get help for them, one day you hear that, because when they are suicidal, they won't tell you. All you see is they may cut the skin with a knife or take an overdose or something like that. And the worst thing is when they try, because they've heard of it or they've seen it on social media, can tie a ligature around their necks and unintentionally. And I've seen cases where the child really did not mean to hang, but they've seen it on social media. They've seen it somewhere else. And then, unfortunately, disaster comes. So please, for mental health in children, we have to take everything very seriously and tackle them very seriously, please. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Let's move on to PKK. After PKK, I'll pick James as well. Then Doctor will respond to them. PKK.
Yeah. Thank you very much for the opportunity, and thank you so much, Doc, for your insightful presentation. I am very grateful this topic has come up, and I think there's a lot of work being done in this part of the world. But my concern is our homes, specifically in Ghana, where we don't talk about these things, and the moment you talk about it, the stigma is so strong that you even if somebody by mistake gets to the mental home and comes back home, we neglect those people, right? So what can we do about it? Because it's an universal problem, and if you don't take care, it can even increase suicidal issues, which it can cause a lot of problems. So what can you do about it? And also, that is I don't know whether it's a myth, but can maybe somebody who is sexually active, and suddenly being denial, can have such effect on a person? Thank you very much. Over.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I mean, this is a very, very, very important question and something very close to my heart. One of the things I discovered when I went to do my King's Fund research in Ghana and the surrounding West African countries is this. Stigma is everywhere, but it's very strong in Ghana and Nigeria in particular, because the first port of call is usually, even no matter how serious the mental illness is, it's not the doctor. They go to other places, or go Dunsiniho, or go try Beifobina Aye, Beifobina Aye, and you know, these kind of things that somebody has cast a spell on them. In fact, when I looked at what people believed as the causes of mental illness, it was very interesting. Education made very little difference, because the reasons they gave me for what they thought were the causes of mental illnesses were strange. And this span across from university lecturers to people at Mokola or on the market. And what was most interesting was this. Even the well-educated ones knew that there is treatment. There is treatment, that if you are depressed or you are psychotic, there is treatment. You know, you can go and have treatment. Nevertheless, when it came to the cause of, because you see, if you believe that there is a cause to your illness, yeah, that will give you the confidence. It will empower you to go and seek appropriate treatment. But if you believe that it's your next door neighbor who has cast a spell on you, or the woman in the market who doesn't like your mom or doesn't like your family, and that's going to be very, very difficult. But having said that, culturally, there is history. We have a history. Many years, and I think it may still be happening in some of our tribes. In the past, when I was little, I remember this. If you saw a woman and went to the house asking for her hand, they will receive you nicely, ask you to go and come back in 3 months. And during the 3 months, what did they look for? 1 was mental illness. 2, sudden death. 3 was chronic conditions or physical conditions linked, which can cause sudden death and so on and so forth. So our people, you see, we our people in their own way had a way, because they didn't want the continuation of certain things. And it's true that some mental health conditions, especially things like, say, bipolar affective disorder, can run through families, or even if your father or mom has schizophrenia, the chances of you getting the same are actually very, very high. Or in other words, it increases the chance of you getting it. So we can't blame them completely if they do that, although it's not the best of things. And with people getting more maybe accustomed to services, I hope these things will disappear slowly. But let me say this. It's because we have not yet developed the services which will make it very easy for people to go and get help. This is why we agree. And mental health services are expensive, I can tell you. They are very expensive because you don't only deal with the condition, you deal with the condition plus or minus brief hospital treatment. And after that, they may have lost their homes. They don't have anywhere to live. So housing is also an issue. In order to give them the housing, sometimes you need occupational therapists to assess them, their needs, and then, but the little we can do is setting up some community health centers, mental health centers. If we get that in every district, or if smaller regions or things like it will be. Oh. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Doc, I can hear you.
Please, I can hear you.
Yeah, somebody came on, and I'm not sure whether it's another.
Doc, may try to me mute obia said the yenya interaction bia hanobi.
Okay.
Yes. All right, Doc, but you're between your question.
Yeah. So as I'm saying, mental health services are quite expensive, and it's not a surprise that places like Great Britain, the UK, are quite advanced in provision of mental health services, because we have the hospitals, we have the care homes, we have the social housing, we have psychologists, we have occupational therapists, we have social workers and psychiatrists, nurses, and all working together to rally around the person who has the mental illness to make sure that they have a good quality of life. It is an expensive service, but we can start from somewhere. If we try to rely on the large psychiatric hospitals only, we will have difficulty, because very few people, and that will mean is the people that we say are completely mad, that we will signpost to those places or get them admitted to those units. But ordinarily, the person with depression or personality disorder or even mild forms of bipolar and others, they're not going to get any services. But these are services which are community-based, so that the hospital beds are reserved for the severe or acute cases, where you go in not for a long term, but to be properly assessed. And then once that happens and you are better, you are followed up into appropriate housing. It could be the family home. If the family home is not available, then they look for social housing of some kind, or supported living, which can be 24-hour supported living, or some semi-independent accommodation, or even independent accommodation. So in this country, it is a very expensive service, but we can afford it. If we budget for it, we should be able to afford it and help our people. Yeah.
All right. I'll pick James, but I have a follow-up question for Doctor. So after James,
okay.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Doctor, for the insightful presentation. Many people say that, in the African community, we don't talk about some of these things, but I really think that it is because we don't know very much about them. For example, how do you know that you are depressed? What are the symptoms? How do you know that a child is ADHD? These are not things that we know. So if you can briefly tell us what are the symptoms of depression, then we are getting good knowledge and we can pass it on to our peers. Thank you.
Right. Okay. So what happens is that, let's say you are with your wife or partner or your teenage child or somebody who, before becoming ill, was going to school, playing football, going to parties. And then over a period, this child takes to his room, or your wife, who used to be so nice to you, always wanting to dress properly before going out, suddenly changes, doesn't want to do her hair, doesn't want to cook the meals, doesn't, want even to see you. And then perhaps doesn't even want to change her clothes or change her underwear or have a bath or something. And then always in a corner crying, for example, crying for no apparent reason. It is important that you don't wait for too long before you try to find out what is wrong with her. And the picture is the same for your child, for your teenage son or daughter. Please talk to the person. Talk to the person. It's so important. Try to find out what is wrong. Because sometimes, and I can tell you, ordinary bereavement is not an illness. Let's say somebody dies in the family and you find everybody is shocked or upset and so on and so forth. That is normal. But if it goes on, let's say for more than 6 months, and the person is still stuck in that situation where he or she is crying all the time, not eating, not going to work, keeping themselves in their room, talking about dark thoughts. When we say dark thoughts, about wanting to disappear from this earth, feeling suicidal, doesn't think life is worth living. When they start saying those things, in addition to when you observe that their mood is down, in other words, they're not their usual bubbly self going out. Somebody who previously was going out every day now doesn't even want to hear about come with me and let's go to the cinema also, so and so. You worry because you know that there is a big change in them. And the most probable thing is depression. And you have to ask them directly what is wrong. And people say, oh, we don't talk about it. But if you are close to the person, you ask them nicely, they will be able to talk. Because the worst thing is when you try to be maybe too authoritarian. Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you getting out of bed? Why haven't you gone to the market? Why have you cooked my meal? Why are you lying in bed all the time? And yet, if you take your time, sit with her or with him, you get a very different picture. And you find tears may come out, but they will stop. And she or he will be able to tell you why this has happened. It may be a life event, a major life event, which she's been unable to talk to you about, or something which has been bothering her about you that she can't talk about. And it's very important that you talk because the appearance will be different. The idea that somebody who used to go out every day doesn't want to go out is now in a shell, avoiding people, not even wanting to do her hair, having a bath, changing clothes, crying all the time, going off work for no apparent reason, please. These are signs of depression or a mood disorder. On the other hand, if, for example, somebody has suffered, it could be failing an exam. And I mean, it happens all the time. People can fail exams and so on and so forth. But you've assumed that, it's all right, you do it next year or something like that. But the person's psychological makeup is such that this is a major life event which he or she cannot easily handle. And you don't take an interest to find out more. And if you think they are neglecting themselves and all that, seek help for them, things will get worse. And in a country where the stigma even rises, if somebody is admitted to a psychiatric hospital, then we have a serious problem. When I went to some of our big towns, even including around KJTI, there were people who were still scantily dressed or semi-nude, dipping their hands in rubbish tins and so on and so forth to try and scrounge for some food. Because this is where, for most African countries, you can say that, oh, this person is mad and needs help. But that is when the condition has become so enduring, so chronic, and it may be just too late trying to get some simple help, which could have started from when you picked up the symptoms. So this is something I would say. And was there something else you wanted to know?
No, I think I've got it. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, moving on now. Yeah, for our next two so Ebenezer Nate. Ebenezer, please unmute yourself and ask your question. Is Ebenezer Nate there? Then let's move on to Zoom user. Zoom user. Can everybody hear me? Doc, can you please hear me?
I can.
Yes,
hear.
we can hear you.
Oh, okay. So maybe Ebenezer Natini Zoom user and someone that. Then
yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Oh, you muted them, I think.
Let me see if yeah. Let me see if I can unmute them because I think I muted everyone.
But still we can hear.
Yeah, Ebenezer Nate, Mbacho Honoma, unmute yourself and ask your question. Or Zoom user.
Okay.
Yes.
Ebenezer here.
Okay.
My question is maybe doctor say will be a referee a word of sworn and also no not a interesting be a referee awareness or why referee pino. Person me say mental health and then no and I'm baby and
okay.
This is the problem.
Yo, I mean, there was an incident recently. That's why I'm laughing, where the person had lost their mobile phone, and until the phone rang from his pocket, and he'd been spending about 3 hours looking for this mobile phone. but apparently it was in his pocket, Now, there are ordinary things which we can associate with, when you are very tired, sometimes when you've had a long day, when you've had, let's say, a bit of alcohol at a party and so on, you get up and you are not all that with it. But there are other conditions. Now, I didn't talk about dementia when I started, because dementia, we have different types, like the Alzheimer's, which is usually associated with, loss of white cells in the brain, and it's associated or quite often with age and so on and so forth. But it can also happen when people have, let's say, some blood disorders, high blood pressure, or they've suffered stroke or things like that. That is different. So these are the extremes, because there are some which may not mean anything, but there are others which we always have to investigate. Because if a young person, let's say somebody who is 40 or 30, is becoming as forgetful as the person who is suffering from Alzheimer's disease or dementia, then we have to be careful that we are not missing something. There are certain types of epileptic or epileptiform conditions which are like epilepsy, or some brain conditions which we have to be careful that we are not missing them. But most of the time, you see, memory, we have the most recent memory, and then we have the remote memory. And quite often you find, if you interview the person and he can tell you everything from the past and so on and so forth, well, it's come a long way. Now, it's when the immediate memory is lost or is faulty that we start investigating more. Because if the person is, let's say, in the 60s, 70s, 80s, or so on and so forth, it could be an early sign of dementia. Also, if somebody who is, say, diabetic or has high blood pressure or has had some heart condition or vascular condition is becoming forgetful, again, we have to investigate properly, because the person may be suffering some minor strokes, which are not very, very obvious. So we have to investigate all that. Sometimes we may have to do MRI scans and other things of the head. But I'm talking about, say, this country or Europe or America or somewhere where it's we just refer. If we feel we want to know more, we refer for MRI or PET scan and other things. But we have to make sure that this is not something which is being repeated over a long period. Because as I say, if the person is very tired, has had a long day, is quite stressed out, or, depressed, or, bereaved or something, you'll be talking to them and their mind may not be there. They are far away. So we don't always conclude that it's an illness unless it's accompanied by other things. Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Okay, thank you very much.
Do we still have Zoom user on the call to ask your question?
Zoom user ask the question.
Okay, then Ebenezer Nate. Ebenezer, bacho for a question, bro.
Oh, me na Macamedian.
And the Zoom user and so Canadian. All right, that's fine. And the M says saying Obi any question be Obi Ebusa question be say I think let me read it from here. I think through Doc, one of your answers, no, that answer, but for the purpose of the show, no, I mean, saying Busa BM say, the question was, that some of these mental health challenges are they genetic?
Well, it's a good question. It's a very good question, and I touched on two. For example, let's take the incidence or prevalence of schizophrenia. The average occurrence is 1 in 100 people. So if you have 100 people arbitrarily chosen in a room, I'm not talking about people who are all lawyers or who are all doctors or who are, but if you just take go into the population, 1 in 100 will have schizophrenia. That is the statistic. And it's true. That is the only one which seems to be true across the world. They tried it in Japan, in African countries, and Europe, United States, and that is the only one which seems that clear, you know. Now, if, however, say your father or your mother has, say, paranoid schizophrenia, then instead of 1 in 100, this can go up to about 14 in 100, or even 15 in 100. So that is why we are able to conclude that these are conditions which can run through families. And especially for bipolar affective disorder, bipolar, we usually talk about bipolar because you can't miss them. One day you see them very depressed, but the next moment, as I say, they are blowing kisses, very happy, overjoyed. When even they don't know the person, they are over familiar, spending large sums of money that they don't have, always getting into debt. And then you see them a few weeks later down the road, they are crying, very depressed, neglecting themselves, and so on and so forth. Now that is commonly familial. Familial in the sense that it's been, all the research shows that there is a high linkage between bipolar in one patient and an aunt or an uncle or a mother or a father having bipolar. So these two conditions are the commonest that you can say. Depression can happen to anybody, but there are certain types of depression which just drop out of the blue that we're not always sure. We can't even identify a life event or something. And there are families who then tend to have this presentation. So some mood disorders, yes. Some psychotic disorders, yes. There are so many others that we cannot say clearly. You know, there are anecdotal reports here and there, but nothing has been proved. But research is always going on. Genetic research is going on. And surveys are going on to find out about these things. That's all I can say, you know, because in medicine and in psychiatry, you have to make sure things are evidence-based. Okay.
Right. Doc.
Yeah.
I strongly believe that love covers everything. Mm-hmm. In your presentation, I remember I heard you saying, said, the reason why sometimes when you are going to ask someone for marriage, the family will give you about 3 months to look into certain things before they will give you the nod or something of that assault or
Right.
access to the family.
Yeah.
But yeah, approach it, Hano. You need time, sir. BBI fast food, fast.
Absolutely.
When it comes to marriage,
yeah,
what would be your advice in some of this that might be genetic in the family, but we might not know? It's very this question is a bit controversial, but
I know. I mean, in this country, as I say, it's not something we look for. But I'll tell you this: if you look at marriages, and this is an area where people will have to do more research in, somebody comes from Scotland, let's say to London, goes to a pub, meets a girl when they are both drunk. They step outside, fondling, kissing, and so on. And so the next moment, they've decided to get married. No family member involved, nobody involved except those two people. And mind you, they met in the pub when they were both drunk. And sometimes it works, But if you look at the divorce rate or the breakup rate, it's very, 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 I mean, I don't have the exact figures here to compare with, say, Ghana or so and so forth. But Ghana, marriage is it's a family affair because we have the engagement with the party and both sides of the family coming together. It's the same in Nigeria, same in all African countries. They get together, people get to know each other, they cook a meal, dowries are paid. And in fact, the Indians do exactly the same. Indians do exactly the same. But in our societies in the UK here, as I say, that is rare. It's rare, very rare. Because quite often somebody has traveled to another part of the country, met somebody, and that is it. The next time they'll go and show the parents, oh, this is my fiancé. The wedding date is so and so and so. If you've got time, you can attend at this church and so on and so on. So, but it has consequences, I'm afraid. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So it has consequences. I personally think, in terms of the ones which last, ours seems to be the better one. The better one. But it depends on the two people. It depends on the personalities that meet as well. And the type of family background and the support you get from your own family and the other person's family. So I don't want to generalize, but we take a lot of steps. We take a lot of steps in marriage. Yeah, true.
We take a lot of steps in marriage. I mean, me no enka ho Dr. Right. For it looks like conversation I somebody is requesting that we have a WhatsApp group for this show that we can send notification, because I mean I'm so I enjoy show Nepal. So I've posted a WhatsApp group, a link on our chat room. You can click on the link to join this group so that anytime that we are about to start the show, we send notification that you be able to join us on time. Let's pick Akuya A. Akuya Free. Akuya, you.
Okay. Doc, I want to find out, usually when women have kids, like at birth, they usually go to some kind of postpartum blues.
Yeah.
I want to find out what can be done to ensure that the postpartum blues does not, turn into a full-blown depression. Are there people who are high risk of such situations, and what can be done to help?
Right. In fact, you've asked the question as if you were in my mind, because this postpartum conditions would have been my next, just a little presentation on that. You see, it is common. It is common for what in this country we call baby blues during the first week after delivery. You find that a lot of hormonal changes take place. There is an upheaval, and some of the consequences are that you become overwhelmed with emotions, and you can see the newly developed mother, newly delivered mother crying and so on and so. But it wears off. It wears off because it heaves and settles. But the reason why we take it very seriously is this: where the person has, let's say, a family history of postpartum mental health conditions, not only depression, there are postpartum conditions which also can lead to depression with psychotic symptoms. And with that, the reason why we take so much interest is if the person becomes paranoid, they can become paranoid not only about the staff, but about the baby. And I've seen it before where infanticide, what we call infanticide, or trying to kill the baby, has happened because they became totally thought disorders, believing that the baby wasn't their own, was a stranger who had come from the devil or from some spies or agents who placed the baby next to her in the room. But you have to intervene very, very quickly. And the reason why we intervene quickly and make sure that, because treatment is available, treat them very, very fast, and you save a life. You save the mother's life, you save the child's life. We also have the luxury of mother and baby units. So sometimes when it's severe, we put them in a mother and baby unit for a while, where we have the psychiatrist, we have the obstetrician, gynecologist, we have the midwife there, psychologists, social workers, and try to involve the family so that bonding with the mother can take place and safely. Because infanticide is the extreme, but I'm afraid it happens. If you don't pick the case up quickly and the person presents like depression, but also starts saying things like, I don't think this is my child, or this is somebody's child, or this is the child is trying to kill me, or things like that, where psychosis develops, please act very quickly. And what we tend to do is we separate the mother from the baby, except for feeding times when, say, the mother is breastfeeding, just to make sure bonding can continue. But where the life of the baby is at risk because of the mother's paranoia or severe depression, which has also led to some psychotic symptoms, we have to put the baby first. And of course, the mother's health is important, but we have to prevent any disaster to the baby.
Right. Emre Eko Intimefa Bako Pet Nafe Yediasia. Doc, we dear, on behalf of all the viewers and listeners, I know you've touched on depression a little bit. The reason I'm going to talk about, I'm saying this, was that a friend of mine, my brother,
yes,
investment banker, he's earning very well. I mean, good money. He's earning good money.
Yeah.
This man, sometimes when he's going to work, he can just go and sit somewhere for some time before he continue to work in the morning. One day, he came back from work on 29th floor of his apartment, jumped through the window, ended his life.
Yeah.
Next week, I want us to talk focus on depression.
Yes. Right.
If time will permit you.
Okay. Yeah, we'll do that.
Depression. It's
so important.
Loneliness can kill us, can
Yes.
lead us into depression.
Absolutely.
We want us to talk about depression and when we find ourselves in such situation.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Thank you very much, Doc.
Okay.
Let me take Kwadwo for your last question. Now, your movie to tap focus section. Kwadwo.
Hello, Doctor. Thank you very much for a very educative program. My question is in relation to statistics in the UK. Why do you think Black men are 4 times or so at risk of being diagnosed of schizophrenia, and why are they sectioned more under Section 3 of the Mental Health Act as compared to the other race?
Right. Let me talk personally as a consultant psychiatrist who has worked in London and in areas where there have been a lot of Black people. This includes the city area, City and Hackney area, this Waltham Forest, Redbridge, a bit of the, not Newham, the Tower Hamlets area, and now Croydon. Because what has happened, this is my personal view, quite often, the Black patients that I come across, they tend to live a lot in denial. You see, stigma is everywhere. But for, let's say, a typical English woman who is depressed, who is unwell, who is developing psychotic symptoms, she will come forward straight away, go to the GP, talk to somebody, and get the help quickly. Our patients tend to come late. So maybe it's not because we have more of the cases, but in all these situations, you have to seek help early. You have to seek help early, because if you don't and you come late, that is when you would have lost your insight, and even capacity can disappear, and then they refuse to go to the hospital because they will say, I'm not ill. It's all A, B, C, and D, and therefore you find the mental health arms and others come in, and there are sections. The other thing, unfortunately, which I think is unfortunate, but this is happening with the white population as well. The use of certain types of cannabis, not the ordinary cannabis, the one that they refer to as skunk, which is cannabis mixed with all sorts of things. And this has been researched by a professor at King's College here, who is famous for researching into cannabis, that the skunk variety can cause psychosis very easily. And unfortunately, cannabis is so freely available, although it's still illegal to possess or distribute it. And I know that some cannabis resins and are being used medicinally. That is, I'm not talking about that, because the average person who uses cannabis will not go for that one. They will buy it secretly and illicitly from people who are dealing with drugs in street corners and nightclubs and so on and so forth. Now that cannabis congestion is very, very, very high among our people. And this is something that I'm a black man, and I know it hurts me when it happens that you look at the figures and too many of our people are being sectioned, too many of our people are ending up in hospitals, sometimes unnecessarily. And then you see when you are sectioned, we involve the police, the ambulance, the approved mental health practitioners, the doctors. So it's not pleasant. It's not pleasant, but it's happening to our people a lot more. I wish they could come forward sooner. I wish they could come forward sooner. But you are quite right. There is always going to be that element, that the perception that, oh, this man is psychotic, he's going to be violent or aggressive because of these cultural thoughts that's how we are. But I don't buy that, everybody can be violent or aggressive. Black, white, Asian, Chinese, they can all be. So that is my touch on that. Yeah.
Thank you very much. But if I got it right, then you don't seem to believe probably ethnicity or race has something to do with the high figures.
Oh, I think on statistics, it will show that more Black people, because it's been done, especially Section 136, which is a holding power for the police to a place of safety.
Yeah.
More Black people come under 136 than the white population is substantially more. And as I say, there are all sorts of other issues, because Section 136, for example, can only be applied outside your home. So if you are, say, living by yourself, wandering the streets, hallucinating or something like that, you've taken some cannabis or alcohol and so on and so forth, and you are heard screaming or shouting or threatening people. I mean, this is how the police will use 136, And unfortunately, in certain parts of London where there is poverty, housing situation is not great, and more people tend to play on the streets rather than in gardens, and so on. We are going to get more of such people if there is a problem. Drugs and alcohol, it depends on which part. If you go to Glasgow, some parts of Glasgow, and I remember when I was working for the Royal College of Psychiatrists in some of these areas, alcoholism is quite high, and drugs also quite high. But the services are there, community services are there, to deal with them. And housing is also there. So maybe the rate of hospital admissions or the use of sections and one on the Scottish equivalent of 136s are not the same for our people as we see in London. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yo, Abuzafo, I will not be able to take questions at this point, but as Doctor said, we will definitely bring him back next week, and next week we'll be talking solely on depression. Intimacy. Dr. Insi Ananyame next week. We'll bring him back. Doctor, before you go, can you give us your final words before you go?
Right. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you all for listening and actively participating. What I want to say is that mental health is something which we all need to understand, know about it, and seek help when it's necessary. If you try to hide it, it's like, when you are trying to open a champagne bottle and then you sit on the cork, it can explode if you are not careful. So please, where the prejudice is less in this country, the prejudice is less and services are available. Please make sure you are referred early and not late. And somebody came on to talk about organizations which are helping, like we have Mind. Mind can do a lot. If somebody has drugs and alcohol problem, please, it's not a shame. The person needs help. Go and get the help for them. If the person is severely depressed and you are living with them, please make sure they see the doctor or psychiatrist for help, because the person who jumped from the 29th floor is not alone. In fact, I remember it was our worst year was about, I think, 2017 or 15, when I remember 5 young Ghanaians killed themselves. And it was very sad, very, very sad. Or some jumping in front of trains. So one found hanging in the forest, in a bedroom, and I think in a pond somewhere. It's not very pleasant. It's not very. So next week we'll be talking about that, and I'll go into details and how to try and prevent these things. Yeah.
Right. Thank you very much, Doc. And I would like to invite Mauto to say something before we will move on to Tap Send focus section, where we will be talking solely issues regarding Tap Send. And if you have specific issue with your Tap Send account, after Mauto's closing remarks, I will open the breakout room 1, where you meet our support team, Tap Send customer support. They will be able to assist you. I can see Augustine is having issues with his payment method. Yes, when you go to breakout room 1, when it's open, you definitely get support from our support team. So, Mauto, can you say something?
Just a very big thank you, Doc, for making the time. Really appreciate it. I know it's a Thursday evening and it's almost 10 p.m. and I'm sure you've had a long day, and then you've had to do this too. But we are eternally grateful. There are a number of us on the show who have benefited a hell of a lot, and then there's also a lot of people who are watching this on YouTube or are going to watch this later. So we are really, really grateful. And Crystal, who spoke earlier about offering help, I think it'll be worth getting in touch with Nana Kwame and let's work out how we can link you, because if we can help ourselves, if there are professionals among us who have the skills and you feel more comfortable because they are not sort of some random services somewhere, then feel free, right? It's just about getting help. So if there's a professional help available, please take it. Please take it. Because myself, somebody was telling me 2-3 years ago about therapy, and a lot of my friends in London have therapy, but none of my Black friends have therapy because they just don't. Even if you talk about actually, I'm having therapy, they're like, what are they?
That's right.
Yeah, and I took some therapy. It was really, really good to go talk to somebody. But it was good. So I think it's worth it. And Doctor, I'm really grateful. And let's keep the conversation going. And hopefully we'll see you all soon. On the Tap Send side, I'll be here to answer any questions you might have. I'm definitely not skilled in any form of advice for mental health. So make it all about Tap, and I can help. Any other questions, please write it down and then we'll put it to Doctor when he comes back next week. Thank you very much, Doc.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Great.
Doc, I'm say what busa me ache say we transfer history in Quentin as a tap send ye baby. Director now we they also baby.
Back door.
Yeah, we kind of back door.
Right.
Definitely.
Okay.
All right. So thank you very much, Doctor, and we will be very grateful to have you again next week. Producer, so please yanko for one quick commercial break. When we come back, we will be going into breakout room 1, where we'll be assisting customers with their specific tap send issues. And if you have any question, Director Mauto will also be here to answer your question. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
By this time, USA, why? Oh, hello. My name is Carla Boss, the only boss. Wait, honest. People, when you see me like that, it's all about good news. Why? Because Tap Send is making life so easy and convenient for everybody. So, are you ready for the good news? Hello, come and tell us. Okay, thank you. So, Tap Send brings to you the double referral bonus, which runs from now to the end of October. Now, all you need to do is to tell your friends, your family, your loved ones who live in the USA to use your referral code when sending money with Tap Send. And they get an instant $10 free. Wait, and you that you are using your referral code, you are going to get double your referral bonus. Initially, if you're in the Europe, you're supposed to get €5 for your referral bonus, but now it's a double promotion, so you're going to get €10 instantly. In Canada, it's also double, so that means 10 Canadian dollars. And if you're in the UK, as usual, you're supposed to get £5 for your referral bonus, but now it's double. So you're going to get £10 just for you. Let the people in the USA know what's going on with Tap Send. Let them use your referral code and they are going to get money, and you're also going to get money. Oh, but get to know that this promotion is only targeted for USA. So meaning, if you refer someone who lives outside USA, you won't receive any bonus. But also, if you are living in the USA, you can also participate in this promo by referring people within USA to use your referral code, which you can find on the app right here. With Tap Send double referral bonus promo. It's a win-win affair.
Download Tap Send now on Google Play and App Store. Tap Send. It's secure, convenient, easy, and fast.
The 6th edition of the Ghana Property and Lifestyle Expo 2022 returns to London, UK. Join us at the Ghana Property and Lifestyle Expo and meet Ghana's top leading reputable real estate developers. Looking to buy property in Ghana? Need advice on finance, legal and estate planning? Hear from our panel of industry experts. Special guest keynote speakers, plus live panel Q&A all under one roof. On Saturday the 12th and Sunday the 13th of November from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. daily. This 2-day event is taking place at the Pastana Chelsea Bridge Hotel, 354 Queenstown Road, London, SW11 8AE. Look out for fantastic offers and discounts. Dream it, live it. You don't want to miss out. Lead sponsor Gold Key Properties. Silver sponsor Bow Real Estate. Bronze sponsor Deftreco Plus.